going to demonstrate how we're going to do this pose to start with. You will take your feet quite wide, wider than the hip width. And if you have a wall to lean back to, then lean back to the wall. If you don't, then that's fine. You can just be in the centre of your mat. So we're going to lift here through the legs and extend forwards. First of all, taking the hands onto the back bar of the chair. Now, if your chair is quite a high chair, it may be that you have to hold on to the outer edges of the chair, and that's fine. Then we're going to come up, and we're going to come away from the wall and take the feet a little bit closer together and hinge forwards and take the hands down onto the seat of the chair. Alright, so let's make a start. Those of you who haven't got a wall, that's fine. Just take the feet slightly wider than your pelvis. Make sure that the outer edges of the feet are lining up with the outer edge of the mat. Now you've got to press down into those outer foot bones. Those who are leaning back to the wall, your heels need to be about a foot away from the wall, so about 30 centimetres away from the wall. We activate the thighs, so grip your thigh muscles, your frontal thigh muscles to the bones. Move your navel back towards your spine, roll your shoulders back and down again. Push down into the outer edge of the feet. Again, make sure that your feet are facing forwards. If you're working to the wall, place your hands to the wall by your hips and just lift your sitting bones, slide them up the wall, and then extend the hands to the back bar of the chair. Or if you're working with your legs vertical, you can just lean the buttocks back a little bit as you take the hands to the back of the chair. So it's a nice way to start. You can just feel all of the opening in the armpit region, in the shoulders, in the spine. So lengthen the spine, move the navel towards the spinal column. So don't let the belly drop to the floor. Breathe through the nasal passages, don't allow the breath to stop. Alright, and we're going to come up. Bring the feet slightly closer together. So I'm going to show from the side here. You can still face the screen so that you can see what I'm doing, but it will probably help you to just have a side view again. So again, the feet are pointing directly forwards. Again, we're sharp in the outer edges of the feet, lifting through the insides of the legs. So lift through the fronts of the legs, lift through the inner part of the legs, hinge forwards, keeping the frontal pelvic bones lifted up. Place the hands onto the seat of the chair. So from here, I know some of you are a lot more mobile than this and can go much further, but at this stage, we are just lifting the legs, lifting all four corners of the kneecaps, pushing down into the outer foot bones. Alright, and coming back up. So we're going to go again. Some of you will be able to walk your way down the chair a little. This is not the point of the pose. We're not trying to get our hands to the floor. We're trying to get a lift through the legs, and the spine should be in the same shape when you've got your hands down to wherever they're going as it is when you're standing. Alright, so push down into the outer foot bones, lift through the legs. Put your fingertips here on the frontal pelvic bones. Lift those up and keep them lifted as you hinge forwards. Do not change the shape of your spine. Your spine is not starting to coil forwards. It is lengthening. Lengthen through your breastbone. You may even feel between the shoulder blades, that area of spine there, may even feel as though it's working a little bit. Good. So if you're able to, you can take your hands down. Don't compromise the shape of the spine in order to get the action in the hands. It really doesn't matter where your hands are. It matters what's happening in your legs and what's happening in your spine. So your hands may be here, and that's absolutely fine. Alright, place your hands onto your frontal hip bones, lift up and release. We're going to come now for Trikonasana triangle pose. Just have a look at the pose first, and then we can do it together. We're going to turn the feet, extend, take this hand down onto the seat of the chair, roll the top shoulder up and back up again with the hand. Okay, so from Tadasana, pressing down into the outer edge of the feet. If you're a little bit wobbly, if for whatever reason your balance is not so good, you can take the feet a little apart in Tadasana. So this is mountain pose. Take the weight back into the heel bones, lift your kneecaps, lift your thigh muscles, lengthen the tailbone. So here, this area here has to be long. It's as though you've got a weight here on this tailbone. Stretch down with your fingertips, lift up with your chest. We're going to step or jump the feet wide. If you have a problem, knees, neck, back, hips, ankles, then you will be stepping your feet apart. So step or jump. Make sure that the feet are facing directly forwards at this stage. They should be more or less underneath your wrists, so that's about the width that you're aiming for with your feet. Lift out of your pelvis, so these frontal pelvic bones lift up. Come up onto the heel of the left foot, pivot the toes in 15 degrees. Turn the whole of your right leg and foot out to 90 degrees. Check that the heel lines up with the instep. Look at your kneecap. It needs to be facing towards the narrow end of your mat, not sliding and slanting forward. So you've got to turn here at the root of the hip. From here, lift your chest, lengthen and extend, and take the hand down to the seat of the chair. Now take your top hand onto your hip, roll the shoulder up and back. So you're really opening out in the chest. At the same time, make sure that that front leg is rotating in the opposite direction. So the front leg thigh has to turn from the inside out. And then stretch up with the top hand as though you're trying to extend and lengthen towards the ceiling. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe in all the poses. Press into the outer edge of the back foot to lift you up. Turn the feet to face forwards. And step or jump the feet back into the centre, and we'll move the chair to the other side. So start again, Tadasana, mountain pose. Feet a little wider if you need to, because of balance or any lower back issues. You can always work with the feet hip width apart in this. So we're going to step or jump the feet again. Taking the feet nice and wide, stretching into the fingertips, lifting through the chest, tailbone long and heavy. Turn the feet. Back foot in slightly, holding the left leg and foot out completely. Get this rotation and then extend. Take the hand down onto the chair, top hand down onto the top hip. Roll your top shoulder up and back. So really keep this kneecap lifting on the front leg, back leg strong and active, pushing into the outer foot bone on that back foot, and then stretch up with your top hand. Keep breathing, and you've got the chest nice and open now, so use that space to take the breath into the body. Alright, use the back leg to lift you up, turn the feet to face forwards, and step or jump the feet. Back into Tadasana, stand in Tadasana, just re-establish. Fine inhalation, fine exhalation. So we're going to take the hands into Tadasana now. Anybody who's got a shoulder problem can use a belt here. So if you have a shoulder problem, it can be quite difficult to take the hands together. So in which case, you would have a belt, you'll pull on it, and you'll extend the arms up in that way. Those who don't have a shoulder problem, interlock the fingers, right little finger on the outside, turn the palms inside out, keep the ribs and the abdomen back, inhale and extend the arms up. So you can do this with me now. Flatten the palms of the hands, move the navel back towards the spine, lengthen and weight down with your tailbone. Let the breath flow into the body, move the upper arms towards the ears. Release the arms down. Change the interlock of the fingers, make sure that you're working into the pits of the fingers. If you're using the belt, you can just repeat that action again. Turn the palms so that you're pressing down towards the floor. Now before you take your arms up, straighten and lock your elbows, move your ribs back. Inhale. Extend up. Keep the weight moving right back into the heel bones. Move those upper arms towards the ears. Rotate the little fingers towards the back of the skull. Now when we're doing this, it can be quite tempting to focus so hard that you have a kind of staring action with your eyes. So soften the eyes. Try not to harden the features. Release the arms down. Roll the shoulders back and down. Stand in Tadasana and breathe. Alright, so now we're going to come for Adho Mukha Virasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and then back to Adho Mukha Virasana again. So the first pose we're going to do is a forward folding pose. So I'm just going to show how it will be if you don't have any issues in your knees, shoulders, diaphragm or whatever. You'll be sitting back on your heels, getting that same lift because this is another forward bend. And then extending forwards and releasing the head down. So for those who have difficulty sitting back on their heels, you can take a bolster. So we're going to sit back on the heels, lift up through the frontal sitting bones. Then that might be a little bit easier on your knees. If you lift up at the back, you have to lift up at the front too. So you would extend forwards, rest the head down onto those foam pads with the nose free. Some of you might be fine sitting back onto the heels, but not be able to get the head to the floor. Again, you'd work with the foam pads like this. Okay, that can also help if there's any difficulties with the trapping of the diaphragm when you're in this action. Alright, so those who are in the pose, just enjoy it. Those who are working with me from the demonstration because you're not sure about this action, then take your toes together, heels apart, lift here through the frontal pelvic bones, place your hands just ahead of your knees. Now move your navel back towards your spine as you walk the hands forwards. So you're walking the hands forwards and stretching the spine, keeping the buttocks back onto the heels or back onto your support if they've lifted. You can put that bolster or a foam pad or a pillow or cushion, whatever you have, in between your buttocks and your heels, and then rest your head down. Let the breath flow. Find inhalation, find exhalation through the nasal passages. Alright, and slowly coming up. We're going to work in Adho Mukha Svanasana to the wall, with the hands to the wall. So I'm just going to show you how that's going to work. Now when we do this, we take the thumb and the index finger to the wall, and the heel of the hand, so that's this part here, stays on the floor. Get your mat right up against the wall. Place the thumb and the index finger to the wall, beyond your hands and knees. I'm just demonstrating this to start with, and then we'll do together. Straightening my mat out. And then we're going to lift up with the heels lifted and pushing back. Okay, so we'll do it together now. Come up onto your hands and knees. Place your thumb and your index finger to the wall. Have the knees a little bit further back than your hips. Feet hip width apart, tuck your toes under and lift up. Now lift your sitting bones, lift your abdomen, push into the hands so that we are working the weight backwards towards the legs. Keep the heel bones lifted, don't be tempted to plonk the heels down because you'll lose the lift in the spine here. So push into the hands. Now look at your legs. Imagine you have a rope around the top of each of your legs and it's pulling your thigh bones straight back. So let the thigh bones move back with those two imaginary ropes and they come to where they come to. Don't let the legs bend. Alright, I'm going to release back down again into Adho Mukha Virasana, which we've just done. Toes together, heels apart. You use your supports if you need them. Pillow or cushion between your bottom and your heels. Extend forwards, rest the head down,
You can put it onto foam pads, you can put it onto cushions, folded blankets, whatever you have around the house. Just let the breath flow, releasing in the face. Alright, and now you're going to come up out of the action. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time. Namaste.